Morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a good holiday. I'll give it that few minutes to let everybody log on. I know I had a good holiday. It was nice spending time with my kids, and it wasn't a big family event, but you know what? It was nice to see everybody and who you could see and who's important to you. So I was fortunate that way. I see people are starting to log on here. I just want to go through what I've been going through just in the last 3 days, and I tried to take a break at Christmas, but it's pretty tough. I got all of Bloomberg's data in on economics. They've been really good since a lot of the work I've been doing with the WTO, and especially in land and economics. I'm getting all kinds of world experts sharing data with me, and it's very impressive. It goes back through all the way from 1948, one set of works, all the way to 2016, and again another very important works that goes through from 1984 all the way to 2016 as well. Now myself, I've been really working extremely hard at developing from the 2015 all the way to present day, and I've done a very fantastic job of keeping up with that for everybody, those loyal followers who follow me. And now I'm sharing that with Bloomberg and the WTO, and I'm going to be sending them a charted, plotted graph that goes through my topic that I'm going to give to you all today, because they've reached out and they have the same numbers that back up a lot of what I say. Of course, their cutoff period is 2016. Mine continues on through till present day, so of course the numbers change extremely largely. And we're going to get into what a lot of people like to read about, myself included, is how to become a billionaire. Well, today's talk is going to be the pitfalls of capitalism and socialism as it relates to billionaires, and what you all need to know, that things aren't exactly as they appear to be with capitalism or socialism, and the world is starting to really reel in that. Today we're going to talk about exactly how billionaires often are made, a large portion of them. And when we say a large portion of them, we're talking about 0.9%, when really it's only zero point 0.1 or 0.001 that actually do some heavy lifting for the global economy, whereas the other set of billionaires, which is a large margin of a very small percentage of the population, but a large margin of billionaires, and how that negatively impacts you. And we're going to get into it like this. It's all about debt transfer, okay? If you're very wealthy, the rules that are set up in most socialisms, which the world is mostly socialist, is geared to really protect those ultra wealthy. The rules are set so that really they can fail, they can make bad decisions that most of you, and when I talk about most of you, it's a registered middle class that you would register in your country, region, territory. The list goes on throughout the world. It can be socialist, it can be a mixed socialist with capitalism, and every country in the world is. There isn't a true capitalist economy out there, regardless of what everybody tells you. That's not true. As soon as you place a government in place, generally you get a socialism side attached. Now, here's the problem. You elect these government officials to represent you. They're supposed to work with the will of the majority, and often that's not the case at all. Often we have elected officials, your legislators, the people who make laws, that stack the deck against you. Now, you, the average Joe Jane, regardless of whatever country you can go through throughout the world, in extreme socialisms, even dictatorships, or you go across the spectrum and you hit more capitalist societies, the problem is government officials deal with billionaires all relatively the same way. And we're seeing this gross problem grow and grow in every society. And it's what's leading to the globalist socialist reset. I have experts right across the world in academia, especially in economics, policy, that are starting to look at this stuff and say, hey, yeah, we get you. And when I can move what normally was a 10% of that academic community, and I can build that to about 20%, we're starting to see more data come in. We're starting to see a change in narrative. So what I want to get to is how to become a billionaire. Well, scratch that. It's going to be how to give back to the people and strengthen the people to limit the abuses of billionaires. And really, it is absolutely astronomical abuse. And this is what I'm going to get into today, the topic of this video. And it's very, very important for you. Get it out to share, because I will be backing all of this up with the data post this video. So, billionaires don't have the same rules legislated because often they get in bed with the legislators. It means normally in a capitalist society, if it was truly capitalist, there's risk for the amount of reward you get. And when there is no risk, when you say, I'm going to set the rules so that if you fail, I'm just going to take your debt, your private debt, your corporate debt, and I'm going to transfer that. I'm going to transfer that into public debt. Don't worry about it. It's not your fault. Raise your credit. Get as much money out of it as you can. And as soon as you're about ready to drop your disaster, your great mistake, we're just going to transfer that debt, your private corporate debt, onto all of the public, the taxpayers, the average Joe Janes. We're going to call that public debt now. And in doing so, it devalues all of you. So a billionaire or a multi-millionaire growing who makes an astronomical mistake, meaning in a capitalist system, that person, you failed, there was risk and reward, as well as there's risk and there's punishment. I don't mean punishment like this person's going to jail. I mean that you failed, now you have to eat your debts and you got to go bye-bye. You're done. But our legislators don't do that for much of the wealthy class, and I'm talking about 0.1% all the way up to 0.001%. And a lot of the 1% in the socialist side also thrives there too. I have a great graph coming forward. I'm almost done plotting it. That Bloomberg, WTO, they're all interested in receiving that. And it plots in both economics, legality, and in political reality, meaning policy. And I put all of that into one graph that really highlights what's happening in our world, what's happening to most countries, and why we're in the position we're in. And we're going to see this escalate globally if we don't address it and start to change the rules legally in our systems of how things operate. And that means making everybody accountable for their mistakes, because there should not be any reward, right, everybody? The little Joe Jane does not receive absolutely any reward for any of the financial mistakes or mistakes they make in their life. Your life goes up or down based on the decisions you make each and literally every day. And if you make the wrong choices or things don't go your way, you go down the toilet and you don't get to carry on. Often the penalties, whether that's financial or otherwise, mostly financial, limit you down here in a lower bar in life. I know this myself as a consumer debt proposal, which I have to pay off, which stays with me for 5 years. I don't get to go jump ahead of anybody and get to have a great and wonderful life until I pay off that system. Then I have to earn my rights back by paying and administering proper credit in my life. Regardless of how my life led me into that position, I will have to go through a number of years to build that trust back up with the financial systems that often with these CEOs and these major multimillionaires and often billionaires, these organizations who don't have the same accountability and rules that each and every one of you have. In fact, they can make monumental risks, making all kinds of money. And here's the problem. They're getting paid with these monumental risks. And when it's failure, your governments, your legislators are saying, hey, don't worry about it. It was a mistake. We're just going to make all the people under the system pay for your mistake. You get to carry on. They call it bailouts. They call it all kinds of things. They often will treat taxation as a weapon to utilize in order to see those people continue on. And it's, oh, well, it was a mistake. No problem. And why is that? Because those wealthy, elite people are paying off your legislators, your hired governmental legislators. And this is absolutely the flaw backed up by economics since 1948. I know it's even longer than that. I know you can look at the Great Depression and what happened with Wall Street, and it was the same thing. People who didn't follow any kind of rules but got a percentage of the wealth that was transferred through their major mistake, which the world saw, overvalued assets that were not really worth anything. People knew, but they continued on. People invested, they get a cut of that wealth and they put it in their pockets. Even though they're absolutely dead wrong, they continue on. Socialist countries do the same thing. Governments act exactly the same way, irresponsibly. Often we'll see, countries like China, under their leadership in that small central party, will enter markets and losing massive. They'll sell products at a massive loss that no reasonable business-minded person would compete with. And it's all about selling their public, increasing their public debt, devaluing all their citizens so that they can corner a market and own it. This is what the wealthy do. They don't care about your devaluation. There's nobody making any laws for the people that protect the people, as they should, as your elected officials should. At least in democracies, we know when you get into communism and extreme civil law socialisms or dictatorships, this often doesn't ever happen, and we know the absolute failure, and we also see the generation of massive billionaires because there's zero accountability, and there's zero effort put in to having to be responsible, having a true measure of risk and reward, the versus when you could end up an absolute failure. Because in these systems and the laws we live in today worldwide, it is a factory for wealthy that doesn't have any ability for anyone to really fail. And all they have to do is cash out the credit, bankrupt whatever they want, turn it over into public debt, and it's actually all of you who eat it. We're going through that right now as your governments around the world are borrowing astronomical amounts or printing money, call it whatever you want. But the reality is they're devaluing you, taking that great amount of wealth, over 70% of it's being transferred to extremely wealthy individuals, extremely wealthy, the top elite of the elite, the 0.01 all the way up. And it's not a whole bunch of people in this world, but they are taking all the wealth that you borrowed, your government's borrowed against you. They're giving it to them on a loan. They're loaning it from them, which means it's not real wealth at all. It's really a promissory that you're going to work harder, produce more for absolutely a whole bunch less. And this is the reality of the world we live in. This is where we're going. It was done just in the Great Depression. It's the same thing. And all it does is generate more wealthy and destroy a greater class of people. And by doing that, it reduces the economy in the long run. This is what governments aren't telling you while they stuff their fat pockets, promises of a portion of that wealth to keep them afloat, and then they run you into the ground. This is what's happening, and people don't see it. They don't understand that how you're held accountable. There's a whole elite class, whether extreme socialist or in the extreme capitalist system, They're absolutely not what they say they are, and they're not following the rules like they should because legislators have removed all those rules. They've removed them all. It's all throughout the West here. It's always been, and it only gets worse. And until we hold our elected officials accountable, until we say, hey, you know what? There is risk and there's reward. If you fail, you have to go down the toilet like everybody else. And if you did that in a society and you let companies fall, you know what? The real ones would come forward. The people who actually take the time to make responsible decisions, who are not generating wealth just because they're wealthy and they can by paying out legislatures. This is becoming the massive majority of billionaires in this world. That's the truth. People who really shouldn't have any wealth at all, but they had enough to pay off enough officials to see their wealth grow. Or they're in a position where they're a ruling class government with absolute authority, or communisms, or extreme civil laws, and they can mandate it just by their enactment of laws. They're all living high on the hog. The world's getting worse, and yet there's demands for us to help the third world economies, yet none of those governments of those third world economies are doing really bad at all. They're in fact controlling 99% of the wealth in all those countries. You couldn't help the people if you wanted to. Transferring your wealth to those countries, governments right now in the US, the Democrats, the House Democrats, some House Republicans that want the president-elect here to sign that bill over and give relief to the American people. What they don't realize is that 5,000-page bill takes a great amount of wealth from Americans, transfers it to people fleeing pure socialist dictatorships, and worse, they want to transfer even more wealth to those supreme socialist dictatorships. That's what the Congress in the United States is doing. Saying America give a vast amount of borrowed money to socialist dictators. Ultimately, that's who's going to get it. They run everything. Those countries won't see it. Those people won't see it. And this is an effect. And what I'm working through the economics right now from some of the world's best, showing you how our middle class is also destroying us as well too, because it's you out there who's like, yes, I will donate money, or yes, I will help to these causes, and really all you're doing is helping a dictator get larger. You're helping a massive wealth transfer grow into the hands of an extreme socialist dictator. And this is what's going on. This is what they want to do globally to all people. And they're really attacking the West, and the West is falling for it. So thanks everybody for watching my video today. Get it shared out. I'm going to plot graphs here that are going to Bloomberg, WTO, and many experts in policy and in law, constitutional law, who overlap economics and or policy, experts of multi-fields that I'm working with now today, and it's very exciting. I'm going to be sharing this data with all of you live here on Facebook for you to take with you, and I hope you all use it because it's important. It's important to see exactly how the world plots today, who's got all the wealth, who's got all the debt, what kind of people have all the debt, what side of the political aisle are they on, and what are their beliefs. And it's going to, I hope, blow you all away. It's an astronomical amount of work I've completed over the last 4 years. And you know what? It's going out to world academia where it really belongs. I hope Bloomberg utilizes it. I really love the data they've shared to me, and I think they will. So thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your holidays. I'll see if I get on here a few more times, talk about a couple other agenda items, where Jason Kenney's going, where Rachel Notley's going, and what you all need to know. Because those two are selling you half a story. One's version of one half and another version of another half for the other. And it's all about their wealthy, distinct people who are in their corner. And I promise you, none of you are there in either corner. And that's the half of the story that neither one of them wants you to know about, and we're going to go through that. So thanks everybody again. Enjoy your holiday, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.